In at number 5, the private prison profits. The capitalistic cages, my money-minded miscreants. Wardens and corporations profit from high incarceration rates, a secret they'd rather keep locked up, a fiscal fable of felonious fortunes. It's a financial fairy tale, only it lacks the moral compass and the happy ending. A story where the wardens and big corporations are the wolves dressed as shepherds, and they're profiting, big time, from high incarceration rates. Welcome to a real-life saga of felonious fortunes. Picture this: a sprawling prison complex where every inmate represents not a life to be rehabilitated, but a dollar sign to be harvested. These aren't your run-of-the-mill, state-run facilities funded by taxpayer dollars. No, these are private prisons, establishments where profit is the primary aim and the bottom line overshadows human rights. Corporations that own and operate these prisons have stock listings, shareholders, and quarterly targets to meet. How do they ensure that the cash keeps flowing? By ensuring a steady supply of product, which in this dark narrative is an unending stream of inmates. Whether it's by lobbying for harsher sentencing laws, encouraging zero-tolerance policies, or promoting the criminalization of minor offenses, these entities actively seek to expand their captive customer base. My penitentiary-peaking prisoners, gather round the crypt as we delve into a tale of hidden horrors and correctional cover-ups. Tonight, we unveil the top 5 secrets prison wardens never wanted you to know, and these are real-life tales. In at number 4, the Stanford prison experiment. The psychological pandemonium, my mind-muddled maniacs. While not a real prison, this experiment, led by psychologist Philip Zimbardo, turned regular people into sadistic guards and submissive prisoners. A diabolical display of human darkness. Welcome to the summer of 1971. Philip Zimbardo, a renowned psychologist, converted a basement at Stanford University into a mock prison. Participants, students with no criminal records or psychological issues, were arbitrarily assigned roles as guards or prisoners. Within mere days, the experiment spiraled into a terrifying showcase of authoritarianism and dehumanization. The guards, given freedom to enforce the rules as they saw fit, but without physical violence, quickly adopted sadistic behaviors. They humiliated prisoners, deprived them of sleep, and exploited their power in ways that would make your skin crawl. Why did this happen? The circumstances created a perfect storm for the participants to lose their moral compass. The guards wore uniforms and mirrored sunglasses, effectively depersonalizing themselves, while the prisoners wore ill-fitting smocks and were identified only by numbers. These factors, combined with the absence of real-world consequences, unleashed a dormant darkness within the participants. What's most chilling is that these were not born sadists or masochists. They were your everyday individuals, coerced by environment and circumstance into acts of cruelty or submission. The experiment had to be terminated after just 6 days, far short of its intended 2-week span, due to the psychological torment it inflicted upon the participants. To this day, the Stanford prison experiment serves as a grim reminder of the human potential for evil, particularly when roles are imposed and accountability is removed. In at number 3, the Kids for Cash scandal. The juvenile jailbirds, my youthful yahoos. Judges in Pennsylvania were found to be receiving kickbacks for sending kids to private juvenile detention centers, a nefarious network of naughty negotiations. They sent children, some as young as 13, to private juvenile detention centers in exchange for lucrative kickbacks. Picture this: young lives, unformed and full of potential, thrust into the hellish labyrinth of the correctional system. Families devastated, futures derailed, and for what? A clandestine payoff that transformed a courtroom into a marketplace of human misery. Yes, dear listeners, this was no ordinary scandal. It laid bare the very flaws of the justice system, showing us how the scales could be tipped, not by truth, but by the lure of money. It wasn't just a couple of judges who were culpable. It was a system that allowed such corruption to go unchecked for years. From the private juvenile detention centers that counted their profits in human lives, to the civic bodies that failed to sniff out the stench of corruption, it was a nefarious network of naughty negotiations indeed. A cautionary tale that questions the very pillars of justice and morality. In at number 2, the Attica prison riot cover-up. Ah, the riotous revelations, my mutinous monsters. The Attica prison riot of 1971 was a bloodbath, and the wardens were quick to blame the inmates. But later, it was revealed that guards and state troopers had killed and tortured prisoners. A tumultuous tale of twisted truths. The Attica Correctional Facility in New York State became ground zero for one of the most infamous prison uprisings in the modern era. The public narrative, carefully sculpted by wardens and authorities, was quick to paint the inmates as bloodthirsty rebels, monstrous figures who instigated chaos. This wasn't just a riot, it was an orchestrated massacre disguised as crowd control, a crackdown that led to the deaths of 43 people, including 10 correctional officers and civilian employees. What's even more harrowing is that, for decades, the responsibility was shunted onto the inmates, while the real perpetrators wore uniforms and badges. Lean in closer as we unveil the bone-chilling tale of the Angola Three: Robert King, Albert Woodfox, and Herman Wallace. 3 inmates who were ensnared in Louisiana's Angola prison, a notorious fortress of despair, for a spellbinding, heart-wrenching stretch of decades. Now you might ask, what could justify such an unfathomable duration in the abyss that is solitary confinement? The wardens would prefer that you not dwell on that question, as the details unveil a grim tapestry of injustice, racial discrimination, and political maneuvering. Their isolation began with convictions that have since been fraught with controversy, punctuated by claims of unfair trials and evidence that wouldn't pass muster. But it wasn't just the questionable legality that will grip your soul. It's the ungodly conditions under which they were kept. Imagine a cell no larger than a parking space, the world reduced to concrete walls and a sliver of sky, if they were lucky. Human interaction, a fundamental need, was rationed like a scarce commodity, and the psychological torment accumulated like layers of dust in an abandoned attic. Their eventual releases, King in 2001, Wallace in 2013, just days before his death, and Woodfox in 2016, did little to assuage the collective conscience. For what is freedom when your best years have been stolen, locked away in a tomb of perpetual darkness? And the wardens, the supposed keepers of justice, would rather you never knew, never questioned, never probed into this harrowing hiatus of hidden horrors. But remember, my friends, the truth has a way of clawing out of the deepest pits, and the tale of the Angola Three serves as an everlasting monument to the resilience of the human spirit and the gaping flaws in a system that could allow such suffering. And there you have it, my penitentiary-peaking prisoners, the top 5 secrets prison wardens never wanted you to know. A tale of hidden truths and tantalizing taboos. But remember, these tales are but real-life revelations, and sometimes revelations can be a real scream.